Hey yo, so this is part of a series that I am going to be uploading the first part of tomorrow called Finish or Fail, which is a fun way of completing the anime that I started or planned to watch in 2022 and just never got around to finishing. And one of those anime was Kaguya-sama Season 3. I ended up watching that, and I loved it so much that I talked about it for like 45 minutes straight. So I thought the whole part one that I'm about to upload is about 45 minutes, and it talks about 4 or 5 anime. So it makes a lot more sense to just separate this Kaguya discussion into its own video. And yeah, so I'm just going to call it like part 0 or whatever, even though it technically takes place in the middle of the video. Whatever, no one cares. Basically, I just want to talk about Kaguya-sama a lot. Here we go. All right. Well, I watched all of Kaguya-sama, Love is War, Ultra Romantic, aka the third season of Kaguya-sama. Now, first of all, sorry if there are any audio issues, if quality is not so great. I literally just now got new microphone, AT2020. This is the first time I've ever used an XLR microphone throughout, like, literally everything I've ever done on the internet. If you've ever heard my voice on the internet, was probably through the Blue Yeti, which is just a simple plug and play microphone. So I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing right now. So yeah, still learning stuff. So yeah, apologies in advance if you listen to this and are like, why do you sound like shit, Mr. Junkyard? Also, I actually watched this like 2 weeks ago or like 10 days ago or so. It was a while ago. Um, and the reason why I didn't talk about it is because immediately after I watched it, I got really, really busy with stuff for the R Anime Awards, so check those out at animeawards.moe. And also, I have some other stuff kind of going on and other things that I do on the internet that maybe I'll talk about sometime later if something actually happens with that. Anyway, yeah, just literally haven't had time to talk about it. So finally, I get to do this. Hopefully, I'll be able to say everything that I want to say. But let me just say right off the bat, Kaguya-sama is legitimately making me wonder where it should go in my favorites. Because this is the third season in a row that I have given it a perfect score. I am probably more optimistic about this anime than I've really seen anybody. I gave the first season a 10 out of 10. I even made a video on Mozilla Fennekin called A Flawless Comedy. Kaguya-sama Love is War. Not a very good video, probably. I probably would have done a lot of stuff differently, but whatever. That was in my age where I was just making videos for the sake of making videos, basically. So, oh well. It is what it is. And then I gave the second season a 10 out of 10. Thought it was just as strong, pretty much. Had some incredible arcs. It really fleshed out the lesser seen characters of season one, like Ishigami, who just kind of showed up at the very end of season one. And it brought in Ino, who turned out to be a great character, a really great addition to this cast that I already thought was like flawless. It was super strong. They didn't need any additions. Kaguya and Miyuki and Chika and Ishigami, they're just amazing characters. Like, how do you even add someone else to that? So somehow they did it with Ino. And then season 3 just continues that. It continues fleshing out, again, the lesser seen characters. This had a lot more development for Ino. And it also brought in a lot more side characters. Like, they didn't bring anybody into the main major cast. They didn't add anybody to the student council, but they did kind of give a lot more development to Hayasaka, to this one girl that's kind of shown up throughout the series randomly to talk about her boyfriend or whatever, and her boyfriend actually becomes a character after being called Kashiwagi's boyfriend for the entire series. And they bring in a new character named Maki, who's a relative, a very, very distant relative of Kaguya, but she prides herself as part of her family, technically, which is hilarious. And, like, everyone is great. Like, every single character is just phenomenal. And it's just, it's wild. It's mind-boggling. I have never seen anything like this in my entire life. I have never had any sort of piece of media, be it like an anime, a video game, even like music, right? Like Rise Against is my favorite band. I don't think I've made any secrets about that. They only have one 10 out of 10 album. They have another album that's really close, but it's not a 10 out of 10. Okay? Steins Gate is the only anime that I've given multiple 10 out of 10s to. And I really think that that's just because it's Steins Gate. Because my Steins Gate is my favorite anime of all time. And when Zero came out, I was just so excited for that, and I just had such a blast watching it that it's more like the experience of watching it was a 10 out of 10, but maybe if I were to look at the series with a little bit less bias, it probably would be a 9, maybe even an 8, to be completely honest. Not that I'm going to change my score or whatever or anything, because it's my fucking score. Who cares? I don't need you to use logic with this. Um, and like video games, like I'll admit, I haven't played the sequel to The World Ends With You yet, so maybe that is a 10 out of 10 in the weight. But even then, it's like that's two. Media gets two 10 out of 10s at most, and Kaguya-sama has three. Like it really is mind-boggling because it has to fall off at some point, right? Like logic, like the rules of the universe dictate that something has to become imperfect at some point, and I'm just like waiting for that to happen, and it's not happened yet. How has it not happened yet? How is it still getting better? Like not only that's the other mind blowing thing about this season. Not only is this another 10 out of 10 season, but it's the best season so far. Like again, those first two seasons are like 10 out of 10s. This season's like a 12 out of 10. This season was fucking amazing. It was some of the best anime I've ever seen in my life. I can't believe how good it is. It's just how the hell does this happen, dude? It's mind-boggling. And I know we still have some Kaguya left to go. There's still some stuff to adapt with the manga. There was a movie that literally had just come out when I watched it a couple of weeks ago, and I'm so mad. Like it was out of theaters by the time I watched it. I'm just like, God fucking damn it, dude. Um, and I think they have already announced season 4 or something. If not, then they'll do it eventually. I'm sure that there has been a commitment made to adapting all of this manga because why wouldn't you at this point? It's more than half. You're more than halfway through it, I think. I think. I'm actually not entirely sure. There's like 300 chapters of Kaguya, and I remember season 1 only got to like 40 or 50 of them. Whatever. That's for the future. But at least for now, like I can't believe how Kaguya hasn't fallen off yet, and I really need to think about where it goes in my favorites because like I think this is number 4 or number 3. Like I don't know if Konosuba is above it exactly. I guess I should check my fucking anime list and see what it is. No, it is above Konosuba, but then it has to compete with Sorayori. And see, I love Sorayori to death. I still think about that anime a ton, but that was just one season. That was one season of anime and literally nothing more. Like, we haven't had an OVA, we haven't had a movie. The best thing we ever got of new Sorayori content is the fucking Don Glees commercial that was voiced by the characters, essentially. And they just kind of acted in character. It wasn't anything, really. Um, so I had to wonder, like, does this surpass Sorayori? Does this become my new number 2? Like, I really I didn't know I was ever going to have to think about that in my entire life. I thought that when Sorayori came out, that was as good as it would ever get. Aside from Steins Gate Zero, I guess. So yeah, when Steins Gate Zero was... Because Steins Gate Zero came out right after Sorayori, that was hilarious. That was awesome. So then, it was like, okay, this is the best anime we'll ever get from me. Like, it's actually a little bit sad thinking about that in a way, because it's like, yeah, it's all downhill from here. I'm never going to get a big surprise 10 out of 10 like this. I'm never going to have a favorites shaking series like that ever again. And here I am, 5 years later, contemplating this. I know I haven't really talked about why Kaguya-sama is so good yet, but that's just that's just like the pure feeling that I have of this. This is just me gushing about how much I freaking love Kaguya-sama. In my finish or fail video that this kind of is a spin-off of, I mentioned that I only watched, like, I had no idea how many episodes I had watched before getting back to this, it turns out I would watched 8 episodes. Um, I left off right before the cultural festival was about to begin. But I restarted it. I restarted the anime because I wasn't completely I didn't completely remember what had happened. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna refresh myself by rewatching those first 8 episodes. And you know what? It's Kaguya-sama. It's so great that what am I gonna do? Complain about watching this more? No, I absolutely will take the opportunity to do that. So I restarted and watched all 13 episodes in one sitting, and man, that was a blast. I'm so glad I restarted because I think if I just jumped back into the anime where I left off, I wouldn't have really gotten the payoffs that this season has. Because what happens in this season is it builds up to this cultural festival that the student council is organizing. And in the student council, you get huge character moments for a lot of the cast, most notably Kaguya, Miyuki, and Ishigami. Those three have like huge major arcs in this season. And yeah, getting the full season again all at once like really sold those payoffs to me. Uh, because what Kaguya-sama is, it's like a long form chess match between characters. Kaguya and Miyuki are both trying to get the other to confess to them. Like they both have feelings for each other very clearly, but they just can't say it to the other person because it's a matter of pride or just inexperience with relationships or some other things. But they end up contextualizing it, recontextualizing it in a really, really clever way this season. And it's part of the way the cultural festival is built. Same with Ishigami. He kind of has his own arc this season where he's hard crushing on this one girl, which has been like mentioned, I think, in the first season or two. But they haven't really done it. They haven't really done anything with that. But this season, he's like, all right, I'm going to confess to this girl. It's actually a little bit different from Kage and Miyuki, who want to confess but won't. But Ishigami's just like, all right, fuck this. I'm going to confess, but the way to confessing to her is this multi-step problem, which involves building the cultural festival and working with her, developing a casual relationship with her before jumping into like, hey, please go out with me. Um, Really, really cool. And what the fuck else? I'll just do a jump cut. Right. So the big major payoffs in this season really involve like everything that has happened throughout this entire season. So yeah, that's why I was really glad that I rewatched it because yeah, just getting all of the context for it really made those final episodes just really, really hit. This episode definitely has the most character development of the show so far, and it's really made me like it's given me a newfound appreciation for this entire series because I mean I love Kaguya-sama because it's just a great comedy and I think the characters are so enjoyable. Like I think that's how I felt about the first 2 seasons where it's like pure fun. Like I just absolutely love it. Now there are some more complex things about it that I appreciate. I'm not trying to say it's like a turn your brain off sort of thing, although I would honestly never really say that about anything. Um, but this season really made me appreciate just how well written Kaguya-sama is. Like I I don't think I've thought this before, but Kaguya-sama has some of the most mature relationship writing that I've seen in any anime. Which seems weird to say because this series is so silly and ridiculous and over the top, but when it gets down to it, it's actually real. Like, so I'm gonna spoil Ishigami's arc. I assume you've watched Kaguya-sama if you've watched this far already. So, but Ishigami confesses to what's that girl's name? Tsubomi, or is that the girl from Mob Psycho, or are they both named Tsubomi? I have no fucking clue. Well, whatever. Um, Ishigami confesses to that girl in a kind of weird roundabout way where she doesn't actually realize that she's being confessed to, which admittedly kind of made me a little annoyed where I'm just kind of like, oh, really? We're doing the misunderstanding thing again? Like, this is kind of ridiculous. It was kind of awkward to watch, but it made up for it. Like, it was fine. It ended up being fine. But anyway, this girl, like, she understands she's being confessed to, and so she's like, yeah, I just don't think I want a relationship. Not even specifically that it's Ishigami, like, I just don't want a relationship with, like, anybody right now. Like, I'm just not really focused on that right now. I've got other stuff to do. And it's like, but also she's like, yeah, but I don't want to reject him and, like, break his heart. Like, I don't want him to be upset with me or himself that I don't, have feelings for him or anything like that. And it's like, it's just such a real and valid feeling. Like, I love Ishigami and I want this character to succeed. Like, I'm really genuinely rooting for this guy. So I want him to develop this relationship that he's been working towards. But this girl, like, puts it in such an eloquent way where I'm just like, I can't even be mad about that. Like, that's so valid for her to feel that. Um, and also the new girl that was in this season, Maki. Again, fucking fantastic character. Like, secret MVP of this whole season. She's crushing on Kashiwagi's boyfriend, which is just the guy's name. Um, they even make a joke about that in this series where there's like, oh, this guy has a name? I thought it was just Kashiwagi's boyfriend. Uh, anyway, so Maki is crushing on this guy and is actually trying to break them up, but not in a toxic way because she's friends with Kashiwagi, like actual friends. So she's not trying to be toxic. She just wants to have this guy to herself and kind of understands that's wrong. So she isn't actively fucking with their relationship. Basically, she tries to break them up by having him get Kashiwagi a really shitty, lame gift, thinking that it'll piss her off. Instead, it does the exact opposite. Oh my god, these two were fucking hilarious. Like, she gets this like shitty Walmart necklace or something like that. Well, it's probably better because everyone in this anime is fucking rich. Um, but anyway, they're like, oh my god, like all the other characters, like it's Maki and the entire student council watching. They're like, oh my god, that's so lame, so cringe. And then these two just start furiously making out with each other, and they're like, oh my god, and that becomes a recurring thing, a recurring thing throughout this entire season, where these two are just fucking aggressively horny with each other, which had this amazing fucking punchline where Ishigami is trying to get close to his girl by getting him into a haunted house, but they're gender segregated because those two started making out in this one spot where they're supposed to be like trapped, and Ino found out, and oh my god, I did not explain it very well, but holy shit, when that happened, I fucking died. Like, the way all of these plot points converged in such a hilarious way, just fucking genius mangaka Akasaka Aka does it again. Fucking Akasaka masterclass right there. Common W. How the fuck does he do it? How is he so good? How is he so good at all of this stuff, dude? Like, how is he so funny but also so relatable? Like, I've seen complaints about Kaguya-sama. I saw this one post, and I have no idea who posted it. I know it was by someone who has some kind of following, like in the thousands. I don't know if it was like an actual person or just a random Twitter account. So this wasn't just some Joe random eight figures kind of person. Um, it was someone, I guess, kind of legit. And they said, I just can't get into Kaguya-sama because I just can't be bothered to care about these rich, privileged high school kids and their stupid teenage drama. And honestly, I would agree. Like, the premise of Kaguya-sama is so ridiculous. It's this insanely prestigious school with all of these fucking obnoxious, pampered kids who are all in families of like really rich and important, powerful people like Kaguya-sama. Kaguya Shinomiya is like the daughter of this fucking massive conglomerate. She's like the most influential person in the fucking nation. Okay? Like, yeah, this is fucking stupid. Who cares if these people don't fall in love with each other or whatever? They're set for life on whatever they do. Why should I care? And that just speaks to how great all of the characters are. Just how fun and enjoyable and how just how I can get into whatever is going on with them, even though I'm like 10 years older than them by this point. I'm fucking 27. This anime is for 17-year-olds at best. I shouldn't be relating to them as well as I do, but it just speaks to how, again, just how mature the relationship writing is in this. The other thing that happens, the way Kagi and Miyuki's affection for each other is recontextualized in this season is Miyuki sets up this huge, grand. It's kind of like a prank, honestly, but it's all part of like the festival. Um, what he does is, well, I don't need to get into what he does, but basically the reason why he comes to a point where he says the reason why I can't confess to Kaguya is because I need to become someone better than what I am right now. I need to be so great of a person that Kaguya has to confess to me. That's why he can't confess. And again, that's just like it really it's not only just a really cool motivation, but it just speaks to how hard this guy works. It's something that really fits his character. Again, yeah, all of this shit is like dumb, who cares, but it's valid. That's what I think about it. It's really, really valid and like again, surprisingly mature. Like for as fun and ridiculous and over the top as this anime is, it's starting to reach a climax because Miyuki is going to Stanford University in the United States. So he's going, and not only doing that, but also doing so a year early. He is deliberately skipping school a year early to go study overseas, just to help his family out more. He's like, you know what? It's great in this school. I get to be the best. I have this girl I'm absolutely head over heels for. It's so much fun, but I gotta do real shit now. Like this season, this is the season where Kaguya really grows up. It starts to become less of a ridiculous teenage rom-com and more like people actually coming into their own. Like people really having these big grow up moments. Like again, Ishigami, who I love so much, early on in the season, he's he this is when the plot of him confessing to this girl starts to kind of start moving. And he's like, okay, so I'll get her attention by scoring really well on the tests. And then he scores in like the average range. You know, he's like middle of the pack in the entire school. And he's just like, God fucking damn it. Like I thought that I could just be a guy who just is capable of doing whatever. Whenever I just put my mind to it. Like if I just say I'll do something, then I'll just do it. But I can't fucking do that. Like I couldn't just like cheat in that way. I have to be better than what I am. Again, that's the other thing. It's like these characters all trying to improve themselves. He's like, I'm fucking pissed that I failed at this actually. You know, this guy who's been this slacker, this very laid back person, the entire series is suddenly just fucking beating himself up for what he's done and what he's failed at in this season. He's like, I'm actually not going to get anywhere in my life. I'm not going to be satisfied in my life if I keep doing things this way. That's so great. Like I think that's why this season in particular has really made Kaguya-sama, like everything about this series, click into place because it's not even just these big dramatic plot points where characters are like more mature than they've shown before. It's also just like some of the ridiculous bits where in the first episode, the very first skit of this season is Ino is playing her music. She's playing like some ASMR shit on her iPod or on her phone, but she doesn't have the headphone jack in all the way. So what she doesn't realize is that everyone else can hear what is going on her phone, and then she like plays something really embarrassing, and it's like this, and it's presented super over the top, like no, like this world-ending crisis is about to happen, and then just suddenly jump cuts to everyone walking home, and then the text on screen is just like, and then everyone went home, and nobody talked about this ever again. It's like, yeah, because honestly, who the hell cares about that? Like, wow, she did a dumb thing. She did a dumb teenage mistake. Everyone dropped it and moved on. That's just what happens. That's just, like, that's why I think Kaguya's humor works so well. Like, yeah, it's ridiculous, but then you just have that snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes gravity. Where, it's like, yeah, that's how it really is normally, if that makes any sense at all. Um, yeah, there were lots of moments like that where it's just like the show will present a level of genuine, not even like, not seriousness necessarily, because again, it's a comedy at the end of the day, but like I'm saying, you'll just get those moments where characters just feel real. They just feel a lot more genuine. It's like they have complex feelings and relationships and things like that. Um, yeah, I think I might have interrupted a thought that I might have interrupted something I was saying about Maki, um, about her like trying to break up her friend and her boyfriend so she could get with that guy. But she just kind of fails and just kind of like gives up. Like she's just kind of thinking about it like, yeah, I don't know what to do. I guess I just have to leave them alone. Um, Especially because one thing that she wanted is she's like, well, even if I get this guy now, I'm not going to be the first girl to kiss him. You're like this girl, this fucking bitch Kachiwagi, she's the first one to hold hands with him. She's the first one to kiss him, and then like Kagi, not Kaguya, Miyuki and Ishigami are both like, yeah, you're definitely not taking his virginity either. Like, oh my god, dude. This show just fucking gets it. Um, so she just kind of like lives. She just kind of goes on this season like miserable and super jealous of everyone who's in a happy relationship. She's just like at the end of the season where they have the campfire at the end of the festival, and you got all the relationships going on and stuff like that. She's just like, I hope all of you fucking die right now. But then again, she's really supportive of Ishigami. Like she's the person who actually pushes Ishigami forward, and it's like, yeah, don't confess to that girl, bro. Like, uh, she is so fucking cool. She is such a bro. But you know what? I'm glad that so far it hasn't worked out with Ishigami and that one girl, because Ishigami and Ino need to get together. That is my dream ship for this season. Those two are so fucking funny together. They just hate each other because they're complete polar opposites. Like Ino is part the head of the Ino is head of the disciplinary committee. So she's all about order and everybody doing what they're supposed to do and self-discipline. Ishigami's the opposite of that. He's laid back, he's a slacker, he doesn't give a shit about a lot of rules and shit like that. So they're constantly butting heads, but they have these moments of unity throughout the season, and lots of these moments where like Ishigami himself becomes a lot more serious so that he can work on this student, not the student council. I keep messing that up. So that the festival could go smoothly, particularly because his girl is also working on that, and so it kind of has, and also Ishigami sees everything that Ino is doing, like how difficult it can be to like doing the cultural festival involved gaining the trust of everybody in the neighborhood. So both of them are just like, oh wow, this is actually like a lot of work for you. This is like like both of them just kind of have this moment in this season where they're just like, you know what? Yeah, you're not that bad. Um, oh, and also I say it hasn't really worked out with that guy, that girl and Ishigami. Um, But towards the end, like in the last episode or so, because she got to spend more time with Ishigami, she's just like, oh, you know what? Maybe I do like Ishigami. Fuck, I don't know. So there actually wasn't a conclusion to that. That's gonna be a to be continued there. Maybe it happens in the movie. Don't fucking tell me what happens in the movie. I will watch it at some point whenever it's available. Um, yeah, just lots of like really, really great character building and relationship building in this entire season. Hayasaka is another point in this series where Hayasaka's character is so ridiculous. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like she comes from a family, I guess, that is like forever indebted to the Shinomiyas. So Hayasaka is literally just a servant to Kaguya at all times, which is fucked up and maybe not very good. And you know what? She very openly states that in this entire season. She's like, yeah, what I want to do in my life, I want to quit my job. That's what she says to her teachers. And she's like, and they were just like, what are you talking about? But yeah, she also has this moment of growth in the season where she's like, you know what? I'm so tired of following this person around. I want to do my own thing. like I want to be someone else. Um, kind of breaking away from just how ridiculous and absurd this character is. Oh God, like I can't. I literally can't even. I literally can't even with Kaguya-sama. It's just so goddamn good. It is so freaking goddamn fucking goated, man. What else can I say? Like, seriously, again, I was legit looking for a flaw because I love this series so much. I'm just like, there has to be something in here that's not fucking perfect. I guess the only thing that was like not perfect the entire way through was the visuals, which I would only really comment on because Kaguya has had absolutely fucking phenomenal presentation the entire time. But not gonna lie, some episodes of this anime actually look pretty bad. Of this season, at least. Like episode 2, you can smell the outsourcing on that. Uh, like it got better. Like the later episodes definitely picked it up, and there weren't any issues there. But sometimes throughout the season, I'm just like, oh, ugh, what is this? And the only reason why I really pointed that out is because again, the whole series has just been so tight visually this entire time. Um, because what makes Kaguya-sama so great, what makes its humor so great is it will just go above and beyond to sell a joke. So in the first episode again, that's when we get the very iconic line of Hayasaka lied naturally as she breathed. And that's just like a great line in and of itself. That's like a meme within the fan base. That's such a notable, such an iconic line that it stands on its own. But in the anime, you get this as that line is being said by the narrator, you get this like 1 second animation of her doing a breathing exercise. And that just sells that line so much better, just giving a visual for that line. It just makes that joke a lot better, especially when they reiterate it later on when they say Chica lied naturally as she breathed or something like that, and then they show Chica doing that same thing. Like that's what I think is so great about Kaguya-sama. Like it has great jokes, but then they will throw in some kind of visual that honestly didn't feel necessary. Like it wasn't necessary for them to do a lot of it, but the fact that they did that is great. It really makes you appreciate it more. Like, oh my god, I think the best visual of the entire season, one of the best visuals of the entire series, is when they were playing some game in the student council, whatever, and then I think like Miyuki kind of makes a mistake, but then is able to correct it last second. So they say, Shinokame, Shirogane, I forgot his fucking name for a second. I just keep calling him Miyuki. Shirogane is hanging by a thread, and the way they visualize it is his head is just pulled off of his body with like a single strand of skin holding it together, and it's fucking gruesome. And it's just hilarious. Like, why would you make the visual like that? It's so fucking weird, but the fact that they did that makes that so good. It just makes that scene so much better and so much more memorable. It's like you really think about it a lot more than just a passing joke where it's just like, oh, haha, that was funny. Um, yeah, the fucking rap episode was genius. Just fucking amazing. There's finally this season, something I was disappointed in season 2 about is that season 2 didn't have a special ED. Because in season 1, there was the Chica dance. For and again, this is another one of Kaguya's things where there's no real reason, there's no necessity for this, but they did it anyway, and it's great. So season 1, the third episode has this one ED of Chica doing this song and dance, and it's really, really well animated. It's a really memorable song. And it's just a really, really memorable piece of animation overall. And it just happens for one episode, and it just got everybody talking about this series a lot more. Again, just it didn't need to happen, but everyone appreciated that it happened. Season 2 didn't have something like that. It didn't have any sort of special animation. It didn't have any special ED. Season 3, however, did have a special one episode ED of this fucking rap song, this rap battle, animated in this like almost hyper realistic style. Like the anime itself is just kind of animated like general modern anime is, but then the EDs and there's two EDs. There's this one special ED I'm talking about, and then the ED that plays for every other episode. They're all animated with like realistic looking character designs, realistic for anime obviously, but it's just so weird. Um, but this one ED was just like, oh my god, fucking genius. It's just amazing. It's just fucking perfect. It's just fucking phenomenal. Another one of my favorite visual gags is is in I don't know what episode it was, but it's when they talk about Kaguya. She's an archer. She's in the archery club, or no, it was something else. It was talking about like she has really great hand strength or really great finger strength because of her time in the archery club. And the way they visualize this is they start playing the second OP, but they only have like 1 second of this animation of her raising her bow in the OP before the rest of the thing continues. So they just loop it really, really awkwardly. So it's like da 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 da, just to show her being an archer, and it's fucking hilarious. Just to have this one animation of her drawing a bow, because just animating her drawing a bow, like that would have been fine, but it's not as funny as this pre-existing animation that everyone's already familiar with, just brought back completely randomly in this totally new context, and also done so in this really bizarre and awkward way. It's just that's the kind of shit that Kaguya-sama does. That's just what the visual presentation of this anime is like. So yeah, even if there are some outsourced episodes, some episodes that don't look particularly great, it's still solid. I will say though, the OP of this season sucks. I don't know why people like really gush over Kaguya OPs. I thought the first OP was amazing. I fucking love the first OP. I did not like the second OP. I don't really know why people like that one so much, and I understand why even less because it's now public information that it was directed by not Yamada Naoko. So now people are just like, oh, Yamada Naoko's the best director ever, and they don't actually talk about anything that happens in the ED. They just say Yamada Naoko, whatever. Third OP though, this OP sucked. Like I didn't even think the music was that good, but also the visuals are just terrible. The one part of the visuals that I thought was good was when Kaguya was running and the art style constantly changed like every half second, so that was pretty cool. But the rest of it was not good. Like especially the very beginning with all the characters like sliding around in the student council room. It's just looks terrible. So yeah, whatever. No big deal. No huge complaints about that. Like a show can have a bad OP. It doesn't matter. Um, and some of the episodes where the visuals weren't super strong or like negligible still, because the style is still fantastic, and everything else the series does is also just fantastic. Um, yeah, I think that's all I have to say about this. But that was a lot to say. It's been like 40 minutes. Just fucking incredible, honestly. Just fucking incredible what Kaguya-sama does. When this finally ends in the anime, it's going to be a very bittersweet moment because I'll be glad that it's over because that means the whole series will have, done everything that it needs to, hopefully. But I'm gonna be sad to not have any more of it. It's like I want it to end because I want to see this story conclude because endings are supposed to be satisfying, but not having any more would be very, very sad. You know what I should do? I should get into Oshi no Ko because that's also written by Akasaka Aka, and I hear really, really good things about it. I don't think I've heard such great things as Kaguya, but still, um, I just now know that this guy is a fucking genius author. He is a genius mangaka. There's like one page in Kaguya-sama where it like says genius mangaka Akasaka Aka, and that's why I keep calling him that, even though I haven't read the manga myself. Um, yeah, like again, it's so great, but it's so relatable. Like his sense of humor is so just easy to read. Like I think one of my favorite moments in this entire season was when um uh they all got phones or whatever. Kagi's a fucking weirdo. They all added each other online or something like that. I don't remember what it was, but basically the TLDR is at the very end. There's this one screen. It's like between episodes, and it's just a couple of seconds, and there's just this black and white screen of Ishigami looking dour, and it says, and it's captioned, "This is the face of someone who tried to tell all of his friends that Discord's also really good, but but they wouldn't listen to him." And I just thought that was so funny because that is exactly what has happened to me. When everyone was using Skype, I was the first person in all of my friend groups to be like, "Hey guys, get the fuck off of Skype and get on Discord," and they're just like, "Fuck you, Lux, shut up." Oh man. Why is this fucking teenage anime so relatable to me? I shouldn't be relating to it, but I am. I'm relating to it and I love it. I love it. Like, that's what I love about it is that I relate to it, but I guess in a healthy way. Because I've seen teenage anime and I will just cringe at them because it feels like it's from the perspective of a teenager. Like this is why Your Lie in April is probably my least favorite anime. That's not true. It's not my. It's definitely not the worst anime I've ever seen, but it's definitely one of the worst experiences I've had watching any anime because just the entire time watching it, I'm just like, oh my fucking god, you're like 16 years old. Just fucking get over it. Your life is going to get so much better when you leave high school. Like that's the thing. Like when you're in high school is your entire life. And I've definitely had these. I definitely had my life in high school was like miserable. It was terrible, and I honestly thought that everything was just awful in my life, and everything was terrible for me, and it was never going to get any better. And I also had all these like I don't know different thoughts or whatever. And then once I got out of high school, it's like, oh wait a minute, I'm like a real person now. I'm not bound to all of this stuff anymore. I can actually do whatever I want. So suddenly all those issues that I had in high school are gone. They literally don't exist anymore. So that's why I just can't take a lot of high school anime seriously. Like sometimes I'll watch a high school rom-com or whatever and I'm just like, you know what? It's for high schoolers. That's fine. I can't be fucking bothered to watch this though because I'm just sitting here in my mid 20s thinking, grow up, you guys. Just fucking grow up, dude. But look, that's how adults felt about me when I was in my moody teenage years. They're just like, just grow up, dude. It's gonna be okay. But for some reason, Kaguya-sama doesn't have that issue for me. It doesn't have that issue of me thinking that it's way too immature or anything like that. It's somehow relatable for basically everybody, at least for all ages. And yeah, I really think I have to put this at my number two now. Like this is probably my number two after Steins Gate. Steins Gate will never be surpassed. I just want to make that clear. Even if somehow Kaguya-sama is a 10 out of 10 the entire way through, it, Steins Gate has done so much for me in my life that it cannot be surpassed. Ever. That's just how it is. That's fine though. And I don't, favorites shouldn't be a competition. Um, but yeah, I guess those are all of my thoughts. Those are my final thoughts about Kaguya-sama. I'll shut the fuck up now. All right. I hope you enjoyed this super fucking long. I thought this was going to be 30 minutes tops, but instead it's like 45. So yeah. Um
Goodbye.